So we're here today with local videographer Kirk Prosick, and we're doing sort of an introductory, although he doesn't need a lot of introduction to most people around here, but just for the sake of a lot of the upcoming followers that are going to be coming to his website and his YouTube channel. So Kirk, would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, the basics are, my name is Kirk Prosick. I'm a documentary filmmaker, in other words, videographer, however you want to word it that way. And yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and I really tremendously enjoy creating non-fiction documentary films.
Okay, so how did you become interested in this type of art?
Well, it dates back all the way to when I was a child. Basically, I guess just my mom would put on movies for me, and I was introduced to movies at a young age. My older siblings watching them, and just kind of me being around them, I guess, in that sort of way. I just became really attached to them and was just really, even though I didn't really know what they were, I was so young, but I just became really intrigued with them. And when I was young watching them, it was such a profound kind of spiritual experience, I guess, because I didn't know what technology was, I didn't know what story structure was, what a television was, or what a camera was, any of these things. But I was just watching these movies, and what I was seeing on the screen just seemed so real, so vivid, so just so amazing to me at the time, right? So
okay. Sorry to distract you on that one. I was trying to get you to
arms down, you mean?
Yeah, just in a more relaxed, open way, in a sense.
Right.
So what does your type, or like this type of art, attempt to convey?
Well, it entirely depends on the filmmaker, but what I intend to convey is, like, when I was younger, I guess I was more into the freneticism of things, and wanted to work in the film industry and wanted to be a part of all of that sorts of stuff. And as I got older and as I started to kind of delve deeper into that world, I realized how much I wanted to just do my own thing. And now I don't have that much desire to work in the film industry, or really care if a producer or a network or whatnot is watching my stuff, or what they think of it if they were to be. I just like to have well, and that's where YouTube is great, but even if it were to be something else from YouTube one day, or even if it were to have ties with the mainstream film industry or whatever, just to kind of create a safe sort of space where it's not competing with all this other stuff. It's not having all of these check marks to tick off. It's just having the artistic freedom and just the home-based productions to just work with the people I know, work with the people I like, do things my way, have the freedom to basically, just what I said, just do things my way, and in a way that works for me and keeps me forever ambitious about what I'm doing, rather than does it appeal to these people, or is it competing with that, or if somebody in this higher up position were watching it, would they accept it, or whatever. Just erase all of that and just be doing what I and the people I work with enjoy creating, without those restrictions. I mean, whatever, we'll all work doing our basic day jobs for money, but when it comes to the arts, when it comes to our film productions, it's not about that. It's just about doing what we love and being a part of our own home-based production. That if it ever were to bring in money, then great, but if it doesn't, it's something that we're all into enough to just be doing as we are, I guess, right?
Spoken like a true, pure artist. I'm wondering, do you sense, or do you I've watched a lot of your films, and do you consider yourself a historian to, I don't know, we'll just say the Sunshine Coast, just in a broadly way of speaking to it, but just in a, yeah, just do you consider yourself a historian?
Yeah, well, in basic terms, I do. I always loved history, all the world's history. I'm definitely a history buff and have been ever since I was a kid, and that also plays into the films. A lot of the stuff that the early films I watched when I was a kid weren't kids' movies, or weren't stuff that was necessarily what you would generally be watching as a kid. A lot of them were like historical epics and things like that, so that plays into the filmmaking thing as well. And as far as here on the Sunshine Coast, you know, I certainly never set out to be any sort of historian for the Sunshine Coast, or Canadian historian or anything. And in all honesty, I love this place, and I love the scenery and the culture of the country that I'm in and the place that I'm in. But as far as history goes, I was never all that interested really in Canadian American history or Sunshine Coast history and whatnot. I guess kind of being included in that whole side of things was more just a byproduct of what I do, because I'm filming the culture here. I'm filming people that may not be a lot of times accepted into the mainstream media, even that we do have here on the coast. So, and also there's buildings, like infrastructure and whatnot, that is in some of my older videos that are now gone. There's places that I'm filming right now that are are set to be in development, so that footage might be, you know, this is how it was before, and in a couple of years down the road there'll be some other new business or building there, and so I'll have that footage from when it wasn't there. So it's naturally historical to the community, I guess. Like I said, I'm repeating myself a bit, but just as a byproduct of what I do. And I think that would be the same for any small town filmmaker, really, or any filmmaker that is, you know, it would be great to go other places and capture other parts of the world on camera, but that takes time and whatever. So I think anybody that just kind of has a hobby of doing it in the especially in a small town, or in the city that they live in or grew up in or whatever, that's going to be that is something that naturally comes with it, for sure.
You know, for somebody that is so passionate about you know, their art, it's a true inspiration. I was wondering, how do you account for, you know, such a high level of focus?
As far as focus goes, I find there's certain days and a certain routine that I can follow on throughout the day that keeps my mind as fresh as it can be, and so try to follow that as best as I can. And yeah, I guess there's just certain times a day and just certain things that can happen that just keep your mind focused, keep it fresh, and certain things you can do to have it be that way as best as you can. And you know, a lot of times I might not be, I'm focused, but it's not always as unintentional as, because I have received these compliments before about being focused, and you know, a lot of it isn't as natural as it may seem. Sometimes even when I'm working on a film or whatever, my head is completely scrambled, and other things that are going on in my life, like it's my emotions, and my head is wanting to wander quite far off into these other places. But I have just developed the skill, I guess, to just force myself in those sort of darker times, or those sort of frenetic times, or times that aren't ideally going the way that you would like them to be, to just force yourself, basically, is no other way to put it, to focus and be present and aware of what you're doing. But yeah, it's always best to me when there's those certain times and certain days that you're just naturally in your life and in your mindset, just things just seem to be coming together, I guess, right?
You know, we live in a world where there's so many distractions, and so it's almost like an age where being focused has never been more challenging. And you know, I don't know if you'd have a message to aspiring artists on how to you know, maintain this focus. I know you spoke into it, you know, somewhat, but like, what could you say to somebody who's just starting out, as far as, you know, the discipline that is required in this age of distraction, you know, that could just encourage them to, well, quite simply, stay more focused?
Well, my advice to somebody in that position would be, and I've seen lots of other YouTube videos, like, you know, ones that are kind of guiding people on how to get through their day a little better and whatnot. And one piece of advice that they say that I completely disagree with, that I would recommend to anybody who's young, starting off, to not buy into it, is don't limit yourself from the distractions while you're working. Like, say you're writing, or say you're editing, or you're looking over footage, you're doing whatever to do with your film that isn't on location shooting, that's some sort of post-production or pre-production in your office, at your desk somewhere. Don't turn off your phone, okay? Don't not watch a YouTube video while you're doing it. Don't not have a podcast playing in the background while you're doing it. Don't not throw on a movie on your TV while you're doing something on the computer. It doesn't work. Those things are so easily accessible now, and those things are just so ingrained to the culture now that you're just going to be, you know, not in the right headspace if you limit yourself from that, in the sense that you're just always going to be, your mind's always going to be like, damn, like I would like there to be some, unless you're naturally somebody that just like likes complete silence while they work. But I mean, if you're anybody that, you know, when you're working enjoys to listen to music, well, like, you say you're doing anything, you're working in the garden or whatever, you like to have a radio playing in the background. It helps the time flow better. You like to have a podcast playing because it helps with the flow of the day. Don't not do that when you're working on a film, or when you're working on any sort of artistic creation that way.
So just receiving things as all part of the flow, and seeing that they can be helpful to your process. So just being open, is that what you were?
Yeah, I guess in short terms, just being open. But I mean, just learn to filter out the distractions to the point where you can still focus, but also keep yourself not forcing yourself to not enjoy something at the same time because you think that you have to be in complete silence when you're working on an artistic project. It'll serve you better to learn to filter that out at the same time as working.